Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to walk through the app which we are going to use in this course. And we'll also talk about how to understand the complexity, size, and scope of your app before you start coding. So, let's get started. Most of the examples we see in tutorial are designed to explain a small concept or an idea using a demo project. Since this course is about writing tests for legacy code, we need to have a real world project with the legacy code. It's actually very hard to create or design a legacy code sample app or a demo app to explain a concept, because legacy code is really unpredictable and very hard to understand, since we cannot show the actual code we work on day-to-day basis because of NDA, or the project is so big it has a lot of longer build times. And since we live in a TikTok world, I don't want to waste anyone 10 or 20 seconds. For this, we will use one of my side project, which I called WhatTodo, and you can check it from my GitHub profile, WhatTodo. And this is a simple to-do app designed in Flutter to keep track of your tasks. And I created this app around 4 years ago. So if you see my first commit, it will be around 18 April 2018 where I did the first commit. So if you see Flutter SDK releases, you'll see in around April it was version 0.2.3. It was not even stable at that time. So why I created this app? The reason is because I wanted to learn Flutter at that time, and to-dos app are one of the common example used to learn any new language or framework, because it contains basic CRUD operation, a database, and a UI with a lot of filters. So this give you a really good opportunity to learn many aspects of a framework. And I create this app and open source it in order to learn what mistake I make or get a feedback from it, and also sharing my learning on this project uh, to the community. So let me just give you a walkthrough on how this app works, because we need to understand, in order to change a code, first we need to know the app or a product how it works and function. Then only we'll able to understand how the code actually works and what does it mean. So I have run this application. So this is the app called WhatTodo, and when you click on it, open up the landing page with no task added, since we have started this for the first time. It has different section like inbox, today, next 7 days, projects, and label. So let's create a project first. So let's say name our this course as a project called testing and refactoring legacy code with Flutter. I'll give a red color to it. Then I'll do the same. I'll create two label, Android, which I'll give a green color, and label. This also have some validation, like you cannot create a same label again with the same name. For example, if I want to create an Android again, it will give me error, label already exists. So there are some basic validation here done. So I created here a light blue, and I'll create, you can see the Android and Flutter label here. Now let's create our first task. So let's say I want to create a task, read 10 pages in 10 pages. If I don't have created any project, by default I have inbox project. I can set the due date. I can set the priority to 2, and I can just directly add it. So it will add a project to the inbox. uh, let's say I want to uh, record this intro. I'll select the project, the due date today. I'll set the priority 1, and then okay. So the label are not working. Why? Okay, so I have fixed the issue here. Since I upgraded the Flutter version, the container was having box container error, but I have changed it to the side box, so now it's working. So this is a really nice example on why should you have test for your app. Since I upgraded the app, I didn't know I break something. If I would have test in place and if I would have run that test, this would have catched at that time only, and I have fixed that error right there and there, instead of running the app and actually catching this issue in production. So yeah, this is a I mean unplanned learning from this intro. So yeah, we'll do recording this intro, and select the project. We'll have Flutter. We'll set the priority high, and then we create a task. Similarly, we can create another task like fix build times. I'll select the same project. I'll choose priority 2, priority 3. I'll choose Android. Now I have another task here. Also, let's say I want to go to a community event next Saturday, maybe. Yeah, so I'll just create that event. So you see that event won't show up here because it shows only today's event, and since we have here inbox, it will filter task all related to inbox. Like go to the community event, then it will filter the today, which is the by default. For the next 7 days, the event is after that, so it won't show up here. If I click on a project, it will show task related to only those project. Same things goes with labels, like this. Apart from that, if I have done with the task, I can just swipe it right away and make it complete, just like this. And if I don't want to go on a community event, I want to delete task, I swipe right to delete it. And I can go to this completed task list, which shows how many tasks I have completed. I can undo this, so I swipe left to undo it, and I go back, the app will show up here. And just to showcase some profile, this is a static profile. There is information on about me, and this is just a static page I have built to learn at that time. So why this app is a right choice for this example? There are many reasons. First, since I started this project 4 years back, I don't know what were the good practices, and there was no much of a community around it. So I follow whatever I can just to make it work. If you go to the home screen, uh, we don't have any state managed solution, so everywhere you are using set state. So if you search for this, so throughout the code base, you will find I'm using set state everywhere. To change anything, I'm using set state, so it's very hard to track and really difficult to maintain the state, and the logic is not separated properly. So for example, I have a singleton here which directly getting the values from a database, so there is no separation between the UI layer and the database. I'm just using get task, it will fetch a local query, build that task model, and just directly returning on UI, and I'm just building it here. The reason for doing this was initially since I was learning and it was very simple to do that, but as you know that directly pulling something from a database and showing a UI is a not good and scalable thing, because the UI layer is way much different than the database and the API layer. There is no architecture to it. As I mentioned, we don't follow any state management solution here like provider, river pod or block. There is no structure on how it is done. But yeah, since I have previously worked on Android, I have given a little bit of structure here, like task, project, label, home, about me, and so on. And most importantly, it doesn't have a single line of test. If you see here, it just have this old counter template test, which will eventually fail because we don't have that. So there is no single line of code there. So I think this to me seems a perfect app to demonstrate the legacy code and refactoring technique, because this code is really bad. Before we jump into writing into code, since we are a developer and we want to write code all day long, this is not the first step for planning any refactoring or writing testful legacy code. First, we need to understand the context, the complexity, and the size of the app we are trying to test and refactor. To be honest, it's very hard to estimate the complexity of an app in the beginning, because you don't know how the app works when you are onboarded into project. You don't know how things are connected. So the best thing to understand the size and the complexity of an app is by the number of line of codes. One way to do it is just go to the each file and count the number of line of codes and just add it. But this is not a proper way to do it. There is already a package called cloc on GitHub, which basically counts the number of line of your code and gives the details. So just go to that page and install it. There are multiple ways you can install it. I'm on Mac, so I'm using Pro install cloc, and I'll use a command called cloc git, which basically takes the file from git and show me the output. So this is the summary. We have around Objective C around this. This is basically happening because we have built this project. We have a Dart file around 23, 168 blank and 26 comment, but around 2000 of line of code. Similarly all. So total we have around 6000 line of code. You can get an idea of how big this app is, and from the line of code you can understand that this is not a very huge app, and also this is not a very small app. So I find this is a very right balance between a big and a small app. Like it's not so small like a counter app, and it's not that big that you have 2-3 modules and multiple flows going around it. And one thing to note, that since I already explained that number of line of code does not exactly give you the complexity, but if you are onboarded to a project which you don't know much about, this is a really good starting point. So something is better than having nothing. This will give you an opportunity to have a planning around how to write tests. For example, if you have 6000 line of code, you need to figure out which part is most important and how many lines of code it has, and then you can target to write test and refactoring around it. Then you move to different part. We'll discuss this about this strategy more in upcoming videos. And this is just to given a first step around how to get started, but our focus on throughout this course on the techniques and tips and tricks we use around how to make code more testable and refactor in a proper way. So how do we get started on this project? First thing is just go read the readme. But if you go to the current master, it basically have this block pattern which I have migrated 2 years back. So this is not what we are going to refactor. This has all the structure and testing already there. What we'll do is with the power of git, we'll check out to a tag, basically v10, which was my first version without state management. You can see it was around 3 or 9 months ago. And then I have made some changes to upgrade to the latest Flutter version. I have pushed this change, so you can take it from the branch called legacy version 010. And speaking of version, one small tip is use FVM. This is a simple CLI to manage Flutter SDK version. So this is really helpful if you are working with multiple projects which have different version. Yeah, it's very easy to get started. I mean, there are only few commands to work with. This basic commands, basically FVM use and install. This was inspired from NVM, which is basically node version management. So yeah, that's it for this video. If you have any questions, comment down on this video, or you can just reach out to me on any social media platform, especially Twitter or via email. So in our next video, we'll start off writing code and test. So stay tuned and see you. So if you like this video, then please like, share and subscribe. Thank you.